Welcome to the course Introduction of Kubernetes Administration. So let us first understand the topics we are going to cover in this course. First, we are going to cover the introduction to Kubernetes. What exactly is Kubernetes? What is DevOps? And what is the role of DevOps in Kubernetes? Or what is the role of Kubernetes in DevOps? Then we will understand the Kubernetes distributions. Then we will cover the introduction to Docker and container. So this is one of the prerequisites for the Kubernetes, that you should have a complete understanding of one of the containerized solution. And Docker is one of the leading containerized solutions. So we are going to cover with the Docker. Then we will understand the difference between the virtualization, VM and the containers. Then we will cover the Docker component and the complete end-to-end architecture of Docker. Then we are going to cover the all the core concepts and about the core component of the Kubernetes. Okay, and then we will cover the complete end-to-end architecture of the Kubernetes. What is the role of each and every component in the Kubernetes cluster and how they communicate with each other. Then we are going to cover the YAML. Okay, this is one of the prerequisite, you can say, for the Kubernetes, because in Kubernetes all of the resources that we create, which is based on a YAML file. Okay, this is a descriptor file. So we should have a good understanding of how to define the descriptor in the YAML file before we going ahead for the creation of different resources in the Kubernetes. Then we are going to cover an introduction to networking in Kubernetes, which is very important to understand, because in the Kubernetes cluster, okay, which is a distributed system, you have a multiple nodes and then you have multiple pods running across the different nodes. Okay, you should have a good understanding how the different pods or the resources in the different nodes communicate with each other. Okay, then we'll begin with the lab exercises. The first we are going to cover the Kubernetes services. Then we will cover the complete Docker installation and we will understand the important commands of the Docker. Okay, and then we are going to set up the Minikube, which is one of the distribution of the Kubernetes, which is used for the development, testing, and learning purpose. So by this way, you can install the complete Kubernetes cluster in your local PC or desktop. Okay, for learning purpose, you don't need to have a big system in place like different multiple nodes for your learning purpose. Okay, so Minikube is one of the distribution which you can install in your local PC. Okay, and then you can perform or learn all of the tasks that you can do it in a distributed large Kubernetes cluster. Then we will run a sample application of Kubernetes using the Minikube. Then we will create a single pod with the container. Then we'll create a standalone pod object. Okay, and we'll get a complete understanding of all these concept in the sessions, what exactly is standalone pod objects and how we create the multiple containers. Then we'll begin with the exercise to where we will create the pod with the multiple containers, which is managed by the controllers like the deployments. Then we will configure the config map. And in each and every lab exercise, we are going to cover theoretically as well. What is the concept of all the commands and the different options that we pass in the command. Okay, and what is the meaning of the configurations that we are doing in the lab exercises. Okay, then we will do the exercise of the Kubernetes namespaces. Then we will understand the Kubernetes autoscaler, how we can scale up or scale down the environment with the help of autoscalers in Kubernetes. Then we are going to learn about the persistent volume and persistent volume PVC configurations. Then we will understand and implement the Helm package manager. And we will take a look of the Prometheus and Grafana as well. What is the use of Prometheus and Grafana in Kubernetes and how we configure them in the Kubernetes. Then we will learn how we can push and pull the different kind of images from the public and private registries. Okay. Then we are going to have a setup of self-managed K8 setup. Okay, so all of the exercise, okay, we'll do in the Minikube. As I said, Minikube is one of the distribution which you can do the setup in your local machine. Okay, the second distribution is a self-managed Kubernetes cluster where you can do your setup of your own Kubernetes in your own machines, either physical servers or you can say on your virtual machines. Okay, so this exercise we are going to perform on the AWS EC2, where we will create the virtual machines for our master node and worker node, and then we will do the complete end-to-end setup. Okay, so in this session we are going to cover the complete end-to-end action plan with all the commands. Okay, and you will learn also if you how to create the machines on the AWS. Okay, for you can do a free sign up on the Amazon AWS cloud, and then you will learn how to create the virtual machines as well. Okay, and then you will learn how we can do the self-managed Kubernetes cluster setup. Okay, and then we will cover the cloud managed cluster. Okay, so in this we are going to use the managed cloud solution Okay, and for that we are going to learn the AWS EKS, which is the Elastic Kubernetes Services provided by the AWS. Okay, and then we will create and set up the Kubernetes cluster on the AWS cloud. So these are the high level topics that we are going to cover, and each and every session you will get the complete end-to-end understanding of each and every concept. We are going to provide you the step-by-step action plan, all the commands which you can download from the resource section. Okay, and every command and every concept you can execute it on your local system, and then you can understand it properly.